In boxing, there are brawlers who turn the ring into a carnival, craftsmen who treat it like a workshop, and finally Naoya Inoue, who treats the canvas as a silent laboratory where arrogance and anatomy are dissected under hot lights. He does not stomp in gold chains or howl into microphones. He walks with the calm cadence of a monk approaching evening prayers, eyelids low, lips neutral, each step the same length as the last. That hush fools novices. Underneath it churns an equation, distance plotted against timing, power balanced by precision, and humility masking havoc. When the bell tolls, silence rips into shrapnel, and a courteous man becomes the curator of controlled demolition. Those who dabble in psychological warfare usually begin with name jokes or height jokes. They mispronounce Naoya, scrunch their faces, and beat their chests. Inoue collects the mockery like a clinician filing tissue samples, tagged, stored, and later slid under a microscope made of leather. Fight night is peer review. One self-styled entertainer danced through introductions, pantomiming a nap during the referee's instructions. 10 seconds later, Inoue lanced his ribs with a jab and feinted him into a left hook that drained every grin. By round 2, the obnoxious swaggerer collapsed under a cross detonated behind his jaw. Post-fight, he whispered that Inoue's fists felt like hammers wrapped in air, sounding more survivor than showman. Disrespect returned in the lean frame of Jamie McDonnell, who dismissed the Japanese challenger as something. Height and reach emboldened him, and he vowed to jab long and coast. The first body shot tore out that plan. Inoue marched forward, feet pumping like piston rods, dropping hooks in alternating sequence, left downstairs, right upstairs, reset, repeat. 96 seconds in, McDonnell's liver folded. 2 minutes in, the referee rescued him. Reporters later noted the champion now pronounced Naoya with clerical precision. When Juan Carlos Payano's coach shoved Shingo Inoue during a stare-down, the monster merely set a hand on his father's shoulder and resumed his gaze. 48 hours later he repaid the insult with a 1-2 so sudden the television feed seemed to skip a frame. Pyano lay motionless, eyes blinking at a ceiling he had never planned to inspect, while an eerie quiet seeped through the arena. Emmanuel Rodríguez arrived flaunting an undefeated resume and the adamant pride of Puerto Rico. He landed an early looping right that drew a gasp. For a heartbeat the crowd dared to believe in an upset. Then Inoue excavated the 9th rib. Rodríguez doubled, kissed the canvas, rose, tasted it again, and finally accepted mercy in round 2. Later he said the bodywork felt like steel turning to steam. Yanfres Perejo tried footwork and volume. It worked until Inoue decoded timing patterns, then hammered a liver hook that bent Perejo into italic type. He beat the count, but every following second became a tutorial in despair. In round 10 the referee intervened, and Perejo wobbled to his corner, muttering about lead that became fire. Adversity finally swung a hook of its own when Ramon Cárdenas clipped Inoue in Las Vegas, producing the champion's second career knockdown. The monster rose before the referee reached 5, eyes studying vectors, not drama. He adjusted geometry, slicing angles so tight they squeaked. By round 8 Cárdenas sagged into the ropes, and the stoppage felt overdue. The brief snapshot of hope became a footnote, the lesson in on-the-fly problem-solving, the headline. Luis Nery, Mexico's volatile southpaw, promised decapitation and even landed a thunderous left that dropped the monster in Tokyo. The audience inhaled as though the room had shrunk. Inoue stood, nodded, leveled the score in the next stanza, and then turned the fight into a graduate seminar. By the 5th round, Nery's stance predicted collapse. A final hook folded him like scaffolding. Inoue bowed and emptied the air of words. Through each trial, the monster's principles persisted: composure, economy, and conversion of insults into fuel. He does not argue online. He writes rebuttals on rib cages. Training starts before dawn, road work through Sagamihara fog, mitt rounds timed by metronome, and notebook scribbles of ankle angles and hip rotations. Sports scientists once strapped monitors to him and found his pre-fight cortisol resembled that of a commuter sipping tea. His ascent through weight classes reads like missing steps. 10 fights in, he was already a two-division champion. Veterans such as Omar Narvaez, Kohei Kono, and Adrian Hernandez fell with the chilly efficiency of invoices stamped paid. Each victory carried minimal celebration. Gloves off, tape snipped, bow delivered, he left the arena quieter than when he entered. The 2019 war with Nonito Donaire, however, forced him into deep water and forged a legend. Cut above the eye, orbital bone cracked, vision smeared red, Inoue boxed, then brawled, then reboxed, eventually dropping Donaire with a liver shot executed like calligraphy. He won a unanimous decision and new scars. 2 years later the rematch lasted 2 rounds. Donaire's eyes after the count revealed understanding. The torch had passed. Critics hunting for failings point to the knockdowns or unmade superfights. Inoue hears them, smiles gently, and returns to work. He sketches routes toward featherweight ceilings, yet refuses to chase poundage for spectacle alone. Legacy, he believes, is layering mastery over mastery, not collecting novelty stamps. Meanwhile, his influence radiates. Teenagers in Okinawa chant his name while drilling body hooks. Filipino prospects copy his shimmy step. Mexican youths watch highlight loops on cracked screens and compare him to Chavez. Toy companies mold vinyl figurines. Gaming studios license his combinations. Yet he drives a practical sedan, lives in a modest flat, and fishes on rest days. After each bout, he thanks the bucket man and towel boy individually, removing his own gloves out of habit, not show. The boxing economy, addicted to trash talk, struggles to decode him. He sells pay-per-views on the promise of quiet inevitability. Viewers tune in to test whether an equation can miscalculate. Fighters sign contracts hoping mathematics will overlook them, yet acknowledge brilliance's consistency. Potential rivals linger. Brandon Figueroa's endless engine, Robiasi Ramirez's southpaw riddles, Stephen Fulton lobbying for redemption, and Murajan Akhmadaliyev frustrated by politics. Camps dissect slow-motion clips, hunting glitches, finding only micro-errors erased in the next exchange. Meanwhile, the monster jogs coastal paths at sunrise, studying gull patterns and thinking about foot placement. His aura has revived respect for lower divisions. Where promoters once struggled to market bantamweights, arenas in Los Angeles and London now chant "Oe" beneath Japanese flags. Commentators who overlooked 118-pounders memorize kanji, eager to describe the geometry of violence. What puzzles observers is the blend of modesty and mercilessness. Inoue bows before and after bouts, yet in between he targets the liver with intent to shut off electricity to the brain. He smiles at weigh-ins, then deletes smiles from opponents' faces. Duality makes his story feel mythic, the polite destroyer. Analysts speak of kinetic chains and ground reaction force but overlook conviction. Every jab builds an ending. Every hook is thrown as though the fight must finish that instant. If it does not, the next punch carries identical command. Over 12 rounds, conviction compounds like interest until the debt cannot be paid. The quiet terrifies. Brash contenders sling insults that hang unanswered, turning into weights tied to their own ankles. By fight night, those words are ballast. Silence, it turns out, is ammunition. National pride vibrates beneath his calm. He reveres Harada and Gushikin, yet measures himself only against absolute refinement. Each victory he drapes in the Japanese flag, bows, and avoids boasting, believing a champion honors predecessors by exceeding them through deeds. Reporters once asked what legacy he desired. He replied that legacy is others' conversation. His task is to place shots where ribs meet cartilage. That sentence sounded ascetic, but within it lies the secret. Remove distraction, execute fundamentals with precision, and let observers assign meaning later. Inside the ring his rhythm shifts like a DJ crossfading genres. One moment he is a fencer flicking jabs. The next, a guerrilla launching three-piece raids, then pivoting out before the beat changes. Opponents chasing patterns discover the pattern is perpetual change. Defeat remains hypothetical, yet sport respects entropy. Hands age, reflexes dull, and hunger drifts. Inoue counters entropy with ritual. Sleep, stretch, spar, and study. He rotates partners, not entourages, to keep questions fresh, and analyzes judo footage for grip principles adaptable to clinch breaks. Curiosity lubricates his engine. When historians write, they may focus on numbers, undisputed crowns, knockout ratios, multi-division records, but numbers miss the essence. Naoya Inoue proved devastation need not roar. He reminded audiences a fighter can be gracious and terrifying, artistry and ruthlessness coexisting. Should a newcomer shove his father or mock his name, the experiment stands ready. Variables: ring size, 8-ounce gloves, 2 minds. Method: jab, feint, hook, pivot, reassess. Expected outcome: the hush filling arenas when arrogance goes inert. That hush is the monster speaking last. Walk through any gym, and the myth circulates. Stay humble, or the silent scientist will audit your pride. Trainers cite his name like captains cite storms. To young fighters the lesson is clear. Talk if you must, but remember the door-closing thump of a liver shot ends more conversations than words. He strides toward the future at the same measured pace, carrying notebooks instead of slogans. Titles shine, endorsements pile, yet substance lives in small details. The double-tied laces, the fishing line knotted patiently, the bow given every opponent no matter the insults. In those gestures lies the melody of a career built on disciplined crescendo. As long as he fights, each bout resembles a scientific paper awaiting publication. Critics scan for errata. Fans quote favorite passages. The monster cares only for the experiment itself, the moment when hypothesis meets resistance and correctness gets proven through impact. Equations breathe, arrogance evaporates, and another page is added to the journal of quiet ruin. Inoue's origin lies in a gym his father built from salvaged timber, a box no larger than a classroom where pine mingled with sweat, and the lesson plan was repetition. Before homework he skipped rope. After homework he rewound VHS tapes of Harada and Duran, pausing to study the miniature lurch of a shoulder before impact. While friends played video games, he practiced mirror jabs, chiseling timing until boredom became sculpture. His amateur resume glittered with regional crowns and international medals, yet he turned professional early, unwilling to wait for stiffer questions. At 20 he demanded a duel with light flyweight ruler Adrian Hernandez, despite advisors pleading caution. He saw a habit. Hernandez drifted left after jabbing, and drilled a right hand to meet it. Round 6, habit met hammer, belt changed hands, and caution resigned. Sponsorship offers blossomed, but he refused reality TV contracts and luxury cars. Speed limits equalize horsepower, he told reporters, parking an unremarkable hatchback outside the gym. The quote went viral as humility. It was actually focus. Extra weight, whether chrome or ego, slows acceleration. Technicians dissect his posture, elbows welded to ribs, forearms sliding like doors to parry, punches recoiling along identical tracks to conserve momentum. Slow-motion analysts note the lead foot pivots a blink before the glove flies, preloading torque. Yet physics alone cannot explain veterans collapsing from a single liver shot. Placement matters. He seeks the soft notch under the 9th rib, but so does intent hardened by 10,000 identical strikes against sandbag leather. Patience is another weapon. He may spend a round flicking rangefinders, happily yielding points to gather data. Critics call it slow starts until an avalanche follows. Between Cárdenas and rounds, his corner said, "Now we know everything." The next 3 minutes proved the truth. Outside the ropes, he shunned spectacle. Variety shows invite him to recite comedy. He visits children's gyms instead, teaching mitt drills that double as anti-bullying lessons and never charging appearance fees. Observers liken him to a modern samurai, though he dismisses romantic tags. Global networks court him for Vegas residencies, yet he insists on preparation windows long enough to maintain dawn roadwork away from neon seductions. He guards sleep cycles the way bankers guard vaults, believing cortisol spikes lose fights before the opening bell. The looming ceiling debate continues. Can the monster carry devastation to featherweight? Skeptics recall identical doubts at superfly and bantam. Loyalists point to power derived from timing more than mass. Physiology draws borders, but curiosity sometimes redraws maps. Each fresh challenger scripting disrespect replays Pyano's 40-second erasure and Nery's 5th-round collapse. Many still talk, marketing demands it, but later, alone with highlight reels, they practice shield positions against phantom liver hooks. Destiny, Inoue says, is merely cumulative sweat. No omens, no prophecies, only 5 a.m. miles and hooks by the 100. When retirement arrives, debates will rage. Greatest Asian boxer or beneficiary of thin eras, Pacquiao's heir or Hagler's mirror. The arguments will dance, but tape endures, the polite walk, the brutal punctuation. Until then he moves from silence to silence. Hush before national anthems, hush inside his pulse while angels recalibrate, hush afterward as he thanks bucket men by name. Between those silences detonates a thunderclap opponents still cannot outrun, and so long as vanity is renewable, the monster's quiet vengeance will remain fully funded. Every camp begins with a ritual. He writes a koan in his notebook, something like "Angles reveal hearts," and drills until the line seems carved into footsteps. Sparring partners swear the sessions mimic compressed seasons, spring jabs, summer heat, autumn harvest of body hooks, and hard winter quiet shattered by one last crack confirming the thesis. They depart aching yet strangely grateful, carrying bruises that serve as signed dissertations from the professor of pain, proof they briefly studied at the University of Silence.